You've already seen it. You know exactly what happens. You know the plot twist. You know who dies. You know the ending. And yet, there you are, pressing play again. Maybe it's The Office for the fourth time. Maybe it's that one comfort movie you've rewatched so many times you can quote entire scenes from memory. Maybe it's a show you finished last week and you're already back at episode 1. And some part of you wonders, is this a little weird? Most people assume rewatching the same thing over and over is just laziness or a lack of imagination. Like, there are thousands of shows out there. Why are you watching the same one again? People joke about it. Just watch something new. You're so predictable. And sure, on the surface, it looks like you're just stuck in a loop. But honestly, that's not what's really happening. Here's the thing: psychology tells a completely different story about this behavior. Rewatching isn't a sign that you're uncreative or unadventurous. It's actually a window into how your brain manages emotion, stress, and a deep need for psychological safety. There's a lot going on under the surface that most people completely overlook. If you're someone who has a comfort show you return to again and again, or a movie that just hits different every time you watch it, if this sounds even a little too familiar, then this video is going to feel like it was made specifically for you. So today, we're breaking down the psychology of people who rewatch the same shows and movies, what it really says about your brain, your emotional world, and honestly, some of your greatest strengths. Let's start with the most obvious reason, but one that runs deeper than you'd expect. When you rewatch something you've already seen, your brain already knows the outcome. There's no uncertainty, no anxiety about whether the characters you love are going to be okay. No plot twist coming out of nowhere to rattle you. And that predictability? It's genuinely comforting to your nervous system. Think about it. In real life, you can't control outcomes. You don't know how conversations will go, how relationships will turn out, whether things at work will be fine. Life is fundamentally unpredictable. But in your comfort show, you're in control. You know the world, and your brain finds real relief in that. Psychologists actually have a name for what's happening here. It connects to something called emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is basically your ability to manage how you feel. And one of the most effective ways humans self-regulate is by returning to familiar, emotionally safe environments. Your comfort rewatch is, in a very real sense, a tool your brain uses to bring itself back to baseline when life feels like too much. Research on the subject even suggests that rewatching familiar content can lower cortisol, that's the stress hormone, and activate feelings of warmth and social connection, even when you're alone on the couch. But that's only part of the story. Here's where it gets more interesting. There's a second layer to this behavior that has less to do with stress relief and more to do with identity. When you watch something for the first time, your brain is working hard, processing the plot, tracking characters, figuring out what's happening. You're in input mode. But the weird part is, when you rewatch, you actually catch things you missed. You understand characters on a deeper level. You notice the foreshadowing, the small details, the emotional nuances. In other words, rewatching turns passive viewing into something closer to active reflection. It's almost like rereading a book you loved, and each time you're a slightly different person, so it hits differently. People who rewatch tend to be deep processors. They don't skim the surface, they sit with things. They want to fully understand something before moving on, and that trait, it shows up in a lot of areas of their lives. Now, let's be real about the emotional side of this. A lot of people who regularly rewatch comfort content are also people who deal with anxiety, emotional exhaustion, or a kind of low-grade overwhelm that's hard to explain to others. When your brain is already carrying a lot, choosing something new with unfamiliar characters, an unknown plot, possibly difficult themes, can feel genuinely taxing. Your mental bandwidth is already stretched. So your brain does what it knows how to do. It goes somewhere safe, somewhere it already knows and trusts. There's nothing weak about that. That's your brain protecting you. And the positive side of this is worth naming. People who find deep comfort in familiar stories tend to be emotionally intelligent. They form genuine attachments to characters, to narratives, to experiences that meant something to them. They're nostalgic in the best way. They value depth over novelty. They're usually the friends who remember details about people, who show up with real empathy, who don't rush through experiences just to say they've had them. These are people with a rich inner world. And honestly, that inner world gets put under real pressure in American culture specifically. We're living in a moment where productivity is a personality, where novelty is worshipped, where everyone on social media looks like they're constantly doing something new and exciting. The algorithm rewards the highlight reel. New show dropped. Just finished a 10-episode series in 2 days. On to the next thing. In that environment, pressing play on something you've already seen can feel almost rebellious. Like you're admitting you're not keeping up. But what you're actually doing is choosing depth over distraction. Choosing something that genuinely meets an emotional need over something you feel like you're supposed to be watching. Picture this. It's a Tuesday night. You're tired in that way that goes beyond just needing sleep. You make a snack, sit down on the couch, and without even really thinking about it, you pull up that show. The opening credits roll, and something in your body just settles. That release, that exhale, that's real. That's not nothing. That's your nervous system recognizing safety. But it's worth asking yourself. Sometimes rewatching can become something else. Sometimes it's avoidance. If you find yourself retreating into the same content for hours every day, and real life keeps getting pushed further and further away, the relationships, the tasks, the things that need attention that might be worth paying attention to, it's not a character flaw. It might be a sign that something underneath needs a little more support than a comfort show can give. So the real question is, are you rewatching because it genuinely recharges you? Or is it because something out there feels too overwhelming to face right now? Both answers are valid, but they call for different responses. You're not weird for this. You're not immature or stuck or incapable of handling new things. Your brain is doing something deeply human, seeking familiarity, emotional safety, and a space where it knows what to expect. These are usually the people who feel things deeply, who build strong, lasting attachments, who don't let go of things easily, including people, who find meaning in repetition and ritual, who are incredibly loyal, and who probably know their comfort show so well they could write a thesis on it. Psychologists sometimes refer to this pattern as parasocial, comfort-seeking, the way humans use fictional relationships and familiar narratives as a source of emotional stability. It's the same mechanism that makes us want to hear the same bedtime story as a child. The repetition isn't the point, the safety is. So, I'm curious, are you a rewatcher? What's your comfort show? Drop it in the comments. And tell me, does it actually help you reset? Or do you sometimes use it to avoid something? If you're someone who enjoys understanding the psychology behind everyday behavior, the stuff nobody really talks about but everyone does, hit subscribe. That's exactly what this channel is for. And in the next video, we're going to talk about a personality type that always seems confident on the outside, but is quietly running on something much more fragile underneath. You might recognize someone you know, or maybe yourself,